there, people of the internet. My name is Udu Jagero, and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Happy 2025, my first episode in 2025. I am so happy. This episode is sponsored by Titan Impex, a shipping company based in the US and based here in Nairobi, Kenya, but offering their services to everybody in Kenya. So now if you're in the US and you've got something that you want brought home, you know, those mattresses that are no longer using, anything, you can always talk to Titan Impex. If you're here in the country and there is some kind of lotion that you want to get from the US, perfume. Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know.
Okay.
So, Titan Impex is our sponsor for this episode. And
maybe they can help me ship some of my baby's items. I should talk to them.
Baby items?
Yeah. She has like specialized things that we have to get and sometimes we can't find locally.
That will be... You should talk to them. They can bring anything. I saw them bringing some things when I went to their studio, to their office. I saw things that I've never seen, by the way. I never asked what it is so that I don't look silly. But I was born in the village. I should always look silly. How are you, Anne?
I'm okay. How are you?
I can be better. We have a lot.
Why did you say that?
We have a lot of. Now you have got a podcast. You look.
I may turn this into a show.
Yeah,
my show.
Which is fine. I am okay. 2025 has started very well. I decided that I'm going to have a very long rest in December and part of January because podcasting is very hard.
It is.
Creating content.
Actually, it is. I have so much respect for content creators and especially creators on YouTube.
Yeah?
Respect. You guys have my respect. This is not easy.
But you're also doing one on YouTube. How are you doing?
So I have a podcast. It's called Unprepared to Entrepreneur.
Unprepared?
Unprepared to Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The two is very important because without the two, I become an unprepared entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more like my journey. I'm sure I started creating on TikTok, sharing my entrepreneurship journey, just the challenges I'm experiencing, the wins, the lessons. And sort of that has evolved and grown. And so now I decided, okay, my story is not, I'm only one person. So can I bring more people to tell their stories? And why I did it in the first place, I used to feel like I'm the problem. Like I'm the one who just doesn't know how to run a business. Yeah. I should just probably go find a job. And then I realized it's a journey and you fail more than you win. And so I am just trying to encourage more people to try and fail and try again until they succeed. So the more of that you see, the more you realize, oh, actually, yeah, this is part of the journey.
It's very difficult to agree or to come to terms with the fact that you always fail in business. Have you failed a lot in business?
Oh, I have.
Was it like a crashing?
And you know, some have been crashing. Some have been gradual. I have also won in the same businesses. So sometimes you fail, sometimes you win. Sometimes the fall is harder than the win, so it leaves you a bit crashed. But what's invaluable is the lessons you pick along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, 2025 has started very well. My daughter is a bit sickly. She's having a problem with allergy. Yeah, so this 2025, I've learned some few terms. The fact that for you to do a blood test for all the foods in Kenya, you pay 100,000 Kenya shillings.
Ooh.
Hey.
What?
Yes, it's expensive.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Isn't it interesting that until a problem knocks at your door, you actually have no clue about like what's happening about that situation because you've never experienced it.
Yeah, and I've been talking. My friend Ochuka has had cancer for a long time, and until my sister got cancer last year, so when
that's when it hit.
Yeah,
it hit you.
Yeah, what it takes to take care of it. And
yeah,
you're a mom.
Yes, I am.
Can I ask you something about motherhood? As a young girl, did you dream of becoming a mother, Or did you see it as some of those things for old women? This is like old women forever. I'm gonna be single forever.
If I'm being honest, no, not really. I didn't glamorize it the way I see some younger girls do. Like they can't wait to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't one of those girls at all. I thought kids were a lot. I didn't like to play with them. Like when you're doing family gatherings, like I'm not where the kids are
Yeah.
for sure. So yeah, I don't even know at what point that bug caught up with me.
Let's talk about the story that probably brought us where we are right now. No.
The main conversation.
Yes, the main conversation. You get pregnant and you're expecting a child, right? How was your pregnancy by then? Was it dramatic?
Huh.
Uh-huh.
I mean, most mothers would argue it wasn't because it's not like I had complications or anything like that, but I had bad acne. Huh?
Really?
Hey, Jagero.
The one on the face, all over.
Everywhere. The acne was on my arms, this part, the entire chest, my entire back, from like the neck all the way to my waist. The only part I didn't have acne is my belly.
What was the doctor telling you about all these things?
They're like, don't worry, it's just hormones, it will pass.
Oh, it was hormones.
And I'm like, Aki, it's month 3. I'm supposed to look like this, because even on my face, I'm supposed to look like this for the next 7 months.
They were not blistering.
They were.
Really?
Horrible.
Wow.
Horrible. It was bad.
What?
And you can't take any medication.
For them?
Yeah.
You don't only do oil.
Yeah, ointment only.
Why not?
Because you're pregnant. It's a medicine you can't take. So that part was horrible. I could. Oh God! I used to tell my daughter.
Were you scratching?
No, they were not itchy.
They were not itchy.
They were not itchy, but they would just pop, and others would grow. So you'd have like different phases of acne on your skin. Like you have the dark spots, the ones that popped 2 weeks ago
and are healing.
Then you have the white ones. Then you have the red ones that are new. Ooh. Yeah.
Sorry.
I can send you photos.
You send me a photo. It was what?
Bad. Thank God for COVID. I was pregnant in 2020. And so obviously when I'm going to the mall, I have a mask. So it's covering most of, but it was so bad. It was everywhere.
You are feeling bad about it, that if people saw you, they would be like, what is going on here?
It was terrible. It was bad. It was bad. So I used to just hold my belly and I tell my child, you better come out looking like the freaking sun. But this.
And in Luo we call it guanyo.
Guanyo?
Guanyo, yes.
Guanyo is
those rashes.
Those rashes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
No, and I've never heard of that as a side effect of
pregnancy. It was acne. And once I gave birth, they started clearing, and now you can see I don't have them.
Now it looks spotless.
Tough time.
Congratulations. And then this child.
Yeah. So no other complication at all. So I gave birth to a beautiful. She did come out looking like the freaking sun.
Yeah.
She did. A beautiful baby girl. And no complications. It was a CS birth. And in a couple of days, we were discharged. I think 2 or 3 days. We were discharged. It was perfect. Nothing off. In fact, by I think day 6 or 7, the cord had fallen off. So I was just like, this one is a high achiever for sure. Yeah. So anyway, so being a first-time mom, there's so much I didn't know. And I think at this point, can I just say why I came to tell this story? Because Jagero was trying to warm the conversation instead of just getting right into it.
No, I love
Breaking
having
ice.
the audience know you. It's
I
very
know.
important.
It's
And that
important.
part of conversation was very nice.
Yeah. But the reason I'm here in this studio today is because I feel like this is such a difficult conversation. I even have a handkerchief down here just in case it gets heavy. Such a difficult conversation coming from a parent who is experiencing it. But the reason I am compelled to share it is I want to start the conversation. I've seen a couple of other women do it, especially on TikTok. But, just continue having these conversations because they create more awareness about the situation. And the story we are going to discuss, I think early intervention has been the game changer for me, at least. And for many other mothers I've seen. So that's the whole purpose before we get into the conversation. So I'm a new mom. My daughter had I remember her legs. She had fighter legs. When you're changing her diaper, she just can't sit still because she keeps throwing her legs around. So she was all right until day 9. She was 9 days old. Being a first-time mom, I'd been advised that if your baby is too cranky, like they're not settling down, or too chill, like they're oversleeping, those are danger. Like those are tell signs. So just be observant, and if any of those happen, then just take her for checkup or something. So she'd feed okay, she'd sleep. She loved her sleep. Like she was not problematic at all. I wouldn't say she was. And now we are at day 9, and I'm seeing she's not breastfeeding her usual self. So basically, ideally, you're asked to look at what do you call them? Like record your baby's, what do you call it? Behavior.
Yeah.
Right? So that when it's off, something is up, right? So she started sleeping more, longer than like 3 hours. Then I'm like, I wake her up to breastfeed. Usually they nap for like 3 hours. Then I wake her up to breastfeed. She's not feeding. She sleeps again. I wake her up. I try to breastfeed her again. She's not breastfeeding. And I was like, okay, I don't think this is good. I called my husband. He was in Nyeri for a burial. And you know how men are. You're just overfeeding that baby. Blah, 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 blah. Let her sleep.
Yes. Let her sleep.
Yeah. But something was just telling me something is off. So I called the doctor. And now as a first-time mom, the only familiar doctor I have in my contact list is the one who gave birth to her, right? So I call her and she's like, I'm at the clinic, please come. I have a look. That doesn't sound good. So I go and she checks her and immediately admits us.
Immediately.
So that you can't go home. Call whoever is in the house to bring you whatever you need. I'm sending you to the hospital.
What did they say is the problem?
At that point, she didn't know what the problem is, but she just ran a few tests and she could tell there's an issue. This child has something is off. So so we go to the hospital and they begin doing the tests. And they insert that thing. I don't even know what it's called. So they ran a couple of tests. She's still too young, so the blood work is not exactly showing what the issue is. You can see there's some form of infection, but not sure what it is. And I think going back, if I could do something different, it would be to seek second and third opinion.
From a different doc?
Yeah, from a different doctor.
Why?
Because it has costed me so much, Jagero. So much. So anyway, so they're still running tests. We have different specialist doctors who are coming in testing her for this. They thought she had a hole in her heart. Then that turned out negative. They thought that first poop that babies are supposed to poop, maybe not all of it came out, so it's causing issues. That came out negative. So there were just many tests that are being run. And right now we are at day 3. Admitted. We still don't know what the issue is per se. Being a first-time mom, and I've never been admitted to hospital. That was my first admission with my daughter. So there's this. I didn't have the perception of how far left things could go. You're in safe hands. Everything will be fine, kind of thing. So you're just waiting. We'll find out what it is. Right?
Yeah.
You're not applying any pressure on anyone. We'll find out. Until she deteriorated to a point where she couldn't breathe.
Really?
Yeah. So she was struggling to breathe. Making those sounds. And that's the sign, that's the symptom that saved her, because then we did a chest x-ray, found pneumonia. And she was to be tested for meningitis, but she's still too young. So they did a CT scan and they found that she had a brain, something that looked like meningitis, in as much as we could not test and confirm it.
Okay.
So the doctor immediately changes the medication, and she's put on the right medication. And right now we are admitted at the newborn unit, because she's typically like a newborn, right? She needed that newborn unit
7 years.
care days. Yeah, 9 days at this point, maybe 13 days old or thereabout. So the previous medication. So when we went to hospital, the doctor was trying to manage the situation, and so she put her on some antibiotics, but not very strong, before we figure out what the issue is. And so when we figured out the issue was sepsis. Actually, she had a blood infection. We could never confirm whether the meningitis was bacterial or viral, because we didn't test it. But when now we figured out we were dealing with a blood infection, her medication was changed immediately by the doctor. But it's vial medication. She was pricked everywhere. Mkono, mguu, sijui kila mahali, and she's 10 days old. At this point, I'm a new mom. I'm so confused, Jagero. I don't know what is happening. My life has just completely flipped. I'm disoriented. I'm who am I? Where am I? What's happening? And I'm just cruising. If you ask me what happened in those couple of days, I have no idea.
When they say that the blood is infected, do you really know what exactly they mean by that? Because I hear that a lot. And it's something that really confuses me.
This hospital is quite known for the hospital where I gave birth. And unfortunately, that was the hospital that was familiar to me. So when we went for admission, I went back there. That's where we got the infection, for sure.
You got the infection at the hospital?
Yeah, at birth.
At birth?
Mm-hmm. It just took a few days to show symptoms.
And how does this happen? Because of the equipment they use?
Yeah. The environment is not sterile. I'm sure mothers who are watching, I don't even need to say the name of the hospital. They know.
Is it a hospital that is known?
Yeah. They know. Because I did this story in my Instagram stories, and they guessed that's the hospital. So
they guessed?
Yeah.
This is the hospital?
Yeah. In my DM, they're I'm sure this is this hospital. which is really, really sad. It's so sad, Jagero.
Is it? It's like a very expensive. This one of these expensive hospitals.
It's a private hospital. Anyway, let's not talk about the hospital. Anyway, where was I?
You were at. I was asking you about the blood infection, and you told me that this is where it happened.
I didn't have a nanny. I was taking care of that baby myself. I know exactly how that environment is because I prepared it.
So can I ask you a little more questions about this infection thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks like you're saying that you got it at the hospital and not at home because you know how you prepared the baby's room.
It's hard to get sepsis from a home environment.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It's very hard. You'd have to be like...
And the sepsis is the blood infection.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know how the baby might get it during birth. Do you know a little bit of specifics of how it actually gets them? Because when you say the hospital is not...
It's the sterile, like either the equipment that was used during birth to cut her cord or during, like, when a baby is born, newly born, you know, there's what the doctor does. I have no idea what it is. I had passed out, but
yeah, okay.
But you get what I mean. Yeah, if that is not sterile, then you expose them to very
blood
lethal.
infection.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they change.
So basically, now that the blood is infected, it starts attacking the organs. And in my case, it was the lungs, hence the pneumonia, and the brain, meningitis.
Because of the infection?
Yes. So we had to test the kidneys, like all organs, but thank God she was okay. It was just the lungs and the brain. Now, brain injury.
Because then it no longer becomes a blood infection. It injures the brain.
It's meningitis. And now we were in hospital for a month, treated the meningitis, but now the meningitis left something else. So if I'm being honest, I didn't think she was going to make it.
I can imagine.
I didn't think she was going to make it. Because there was at some point she wasn't opening her eyes. It was very difficult. You've not, as a new mother, the way they say, you will fall in love with your child the moment you see and hold her. I mean, you love her, but it's not that deep yet. And I've been spending time in the hospital. Like that connection was just... So it's there, but it's not there. I don't know how to explain it. It takes time to also grow on you, the mother, right? And so I would go hang out with her because I can't sleep in the newborn unit. So I'd go early in the morning. So you're carrying your ujis, your soup, your lunch, everything in a bag. So you're just hanging out with the other women who are sort of like in the same situation as you, pumping milk because she could only be fed through a pipe and you needed to feed her a couple of times a day.
Can I ask you something about the baby unit? Because I am very ignorant about it. What happens? You are given...
Newborn unit.
They sleep on their own?
Yeah, they're their own small cots.
Like the one where if they are premature, they're given oxygen.
Yeah, so you have sections. They're like different rooms in the newborn unit.
Okay.
So you have the preterm babies.
Okay.
In a different section, depending on like what the issue is. But usually, mostly, it's either they've gotten sick or mostly preterm. Like they need to be in hospital or they have jaundice, so they're taken to the newborn unit for maybe a day, 2. Under that light, so that then they can fix the jaundice and then they are discharged, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the mothers are sleeping in a different ward.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know about that.
So now at this point, our insurance has taken off.
Taken off.
Yeah. So
Taken off.
they're not covering this
Why?
admission
Why?
because she's a new member. Make it make sense, Chakero, because they paid for her delivery, but because we had been discharged
And you are back.
and we're back, she's now a new member. And new members, they take 60 days. What do they call it?
Whatever number.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I think that, you know something, Anne, that I really don't understand with the world in which we live. There are several things that are going wrong, but I am not sure why the government sort of are in agreement with these companies, because there is no. So when do they expect you to take the insurance for this? Because it's all, you are also not able to take insurance for somebody that is not born, right?
No.
You can't.
Yeah. So basically, your child is not covered the first 60 days of their life, is what they're telling you.
And that is when they're the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
You are the one who is
Fine
asking me
print.
to make it make sense. You are the mother who should tell me how it makes sense.
We never read the fine print. Like, I was just like, what are you talking about? What do you mean new member? She's a newborn.
So the insurance, let's talk about the insurance here a little bit, right? So the insurance is saying that we don't know this person.
Yeah.
Or they know them.
They know them. There's a grace period. They call it grace, whatever period they call it. So the first 60 days, depending, I don't know if the insurance companies have changed because that's in 2020. But the first 60 days, I didn't know that my child is not covered her first 60 days.
So that means that the moment you went back to the hospital, I almost said the name of the hospital, I don't even know.
Yeah.
The moment you went back, you are paying cash. Really? And it must have been
Yeah.
heavy.
So, yeah. So that happens. Then remember the doctor changed the medication once they figured out what was ailing
The correct medication now.
my daughter, yeah. So she put it in the file. The timings were similar to her previous, because I'd stay there until she got her last medication, which was like at midnight. That's when I'd leave. And it's being administered through like a vial. So it's not like a tablet and you can check what the name of the tablet and confirm. So you think your daughter is receiving the medication that the doctor has changed it to. No, she wasn't.
They changed the medication, but they went ahead and
The file, the doctor's notes said change the medication.
to this one.
Yes. The nurse is the one who administers, right?
Yes.
The nurse completely missed it.
Went ahead and went ahead
Continued with the
other
previous.
medication.
Yeah.
For how long?
3 days.
Really? 3 days. Who took notice?
The doctor is the one who came on the 3rd day and noticed that the notes and what was being administered was different. She just didn't read her notes.
The nurse. The nurse did not read her notes. This is evidence. This is raw evidence that something. Do you say this is something criminal, or this is illegal, or this is recklessness?
It's
What do you? Because
there's a word. There's an English word. It's negligence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who is at fault here?
The nurse. The hospital.
And by extension, the hospital.
Yeah, the hospital. Have you ever met someone who's tried a case against a medical?
They lost.
Have you?
Yes, they lost.
How did it go?
They lost.
Why did they lose?
They don't have a good lawyer. This is tragedy.
It's a tragedy. It is.
This is a tragedy because the case before us is as clear as day that the doctor came and wrote notes. The nurse did not read the notes and therefore continued with the wrong medication and therefore put in danger the patient, who is your daughter. Somebody's liable.
Yeah.
Right? But you did not try, you did not sue.
I had bigger problems.
Would you say you were overwhelmed?
Very.
No strength.
Very.
Yeah?
So then what happened was because of this delayed treatment, right? At this point, we are a week in, right? And my daughter has not gotten the correct treatment, if you've been following. So anyway, so the meningitis is treated. We don't know whether it's viral or bacterial, so we take the worst case scenario. We treat viral, which just means more days in hospital. So we were there for a month in hospital. And towards the end, at first you think your baby is, the medication is making her like sleepy, lethargic a bit. I had not noticed that her hands had stopped moving and her limbs had also stopped moving. It really was not in my radar at all. Top of mind, nothing. Like, it's such a tragedy. It's not something you look out for, if I put it like that. So, the last week, I get introduced to, the doctor was a fantastic lady, by the way. So she introduced me to this gentleman who's an occupational therapist. And she says, she's been lying in bed for quite a bit. I'll send, his name is Mose. I'll be sending Mose over to, check up on her, do a few, exercise her basically. I'm like, sure, no problem. It's like they're giving me this information in bits and pieces. So literally,
do you know exactly what is going on?
Yeah.
They're not telling me the whole story. They're not telling me the whole story.
It's not an easy diagnosis to deliver, or rather, it's not an easy conversation to have. So, and then I think she also did not want to have it prematurely. She wanted it to be confirmed, through an MRI, even if she could see that this is what it is. You get, first test it. You don't take the patient or, a mother through trauma only to find out it's something different, if you get what I mean. So now that's when I begin to realize my daughter's limbs are not moving, especially her right hand. She could move her left a little bit. Then from maybe here all the way down, she could just wiggle one of the toes on the right leg. Just wiggle, just a bit. I recorded it and I had to slow it down for me to actually see some movement. At this point, it still hasn't hit me what I'm dealing with, but I'm just see, this one is just occupational therapy. Namka. Mnaendelea. Maisha. I was so naive. It's like that thing you were talking about, the cancer conversation. Until it knocked at your door, you had never quite processed it. So we get discharged. We go home. And the doctor asked me to go see a neurologist, and I forget the name of the ear specialist. So it was possible that she had lost her hearing. She had her eyesight, but the limb movement also meant something else. Something else happened in her brain. And so I needed to see a neurologist. And that's when now I start panicking. Losing hearing? What? So we go home after being discharged. My nanny, Eliza, her best friend, I still have her, my house manager. So Eliza saw her because I left home. She was at home. I left to go to the clinic. You remember?
And you were put in and you were admitted.
Yeah. Now I've come back with a child who can't move her legs. And remember, she had like fighter legs. And so she is helping me with bath time. And she's like, she cried. She just cried. So she's a mother. She's understanding what this means. Me, I'm like, why are you crying?
Really?
It hasn't hit me like it's bad. I'd say I'm those people who look at glass half full as opposed to half empty. So that's helping at this point. My husband on the other side obviously has 2 other kids. He's like, this situation is bad. He is not holding on too well. And I'm just like, why is everyone being so dramatic?
What?
Like I know we're handling a situation, but Connie, aren't you glad she's home? Aren't you glad she's home?
At this point, the whole you have not gotten the whole diagnosis.
No, not yet. So we did go see a neurologist, Dr. Oyatsi. Very good doctor. And I think that's the first time I got scared at the waiting bay. So he's a neurologist. So you can imagine the patients he handles.
And you saw them?
Yes, because his clinic is always packed. His clinic is always packed. So think of the different neurological disorders that exist. Some severe, some mild, some, somewhere in the middle. And they're all in the waiting area with you. And that's when you realize, siku zuri.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we go see Dr. Oyatsi. She checks out my child. I'm saying Dr. Oyatsi's name so that if you're in this situation and you just need someone to have a look and give you any kind of help, Dr. Oyatsi can help. So anyway, he sends us for an MRI. So at this point, my daughter is a month, maybe a week old. An MRI, she needs to be sedated. Because she's a child. How will she not move in the MRI machine? And then I was telling the doctor, this one is like the mother. She sleeps soundly. Like she will sleep through any kind of...
Yeah.
So we try that first time. She didn't take a nap, her usual nap. So I was going to the MRI center during the time when she takes her day nap. So the first time she didn't sleep. The second one, she actually did sleep through it. All that noise, I could not believe it. Because that thing is noisy. That's like a miracle. So we get the MRI done, then we go back to Dr. Oyatsi, so again, it's the second time at the corridors of Dr. Oyatsi. And he breaks the news. He looks at the MRI and he says, we're dealing with cerebral palsy.
Does he tell you what it means?
He explains what it means. At this point, You're not quite listening, because if I ask you when I say cerebral palsy, what comes to your mind? Not the definition of it. What picture comes to mind?
Yeah, it's some sort of disability which is connected to the brain. Cerebral. Sindio?
Yeah. So when we went with my daughter and he was like checking her out, every time he would lift her up, like she's lying down on her back, then he'd hold her hands like this and pull her up. Her head would swing, almost this part could touch the back. Like this.
So that what does that mean then?
She can't hold her neck.
The neck can't hold the head.
She can't. You see, like there, you're sitting upright, like
Yes.
she couldn't. So in a lying position, it almost, you have muscles. You're holding your, but her, the neck would just go like this.
And what biologically, what does that mean?
Most kids are born,
Yes.
their necks are wiggly, and then over time they
Strengthens.
So we were like maybe 2 months in now, and she's not even, you need to hold her neck. So she can't, if you sit her down, you need to support the neck, kind of.
Yeah.
And so he gives us the diagnosis, and he tells us if we don't get her to hold the neck, then she'll never walk. She'll never be independent.
What is happening to the neck, and I imagine the other parts of the body? Because now you've learned the disease, what was going on. Now looking back, what was he telling you in plain English?
In plain English, he was okay. There's what he was telling me. There's what I got.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually the question I asked him is, what can we do? And he asked us if we are doing occupational therapy. Right. So basically, it's almost like there's a disconnect between your brain and your muscles.
Yes.
Right? So it's like the wires have been disconnected, if I put it in like layman's language. And they need to be stimulated back. And as you wait for the brain cells to regenerate. I'm not a doctor. I'm sure doctors can give a better explanation.
Okay.
So the brain cells that are injured, they need to?
The brain cells are injured. The brain cells that do what to because we were talking about, you remember the neck thing?
I'm not going to tell you the biology part of it.
Okay.
But I know there's a disconnect between the brain and the muscle.
And the muscle. Or the brain cannot.
You see, like the way you think to lift this cup.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that part does not exist. So this hand is like this.
Oh, so you can't get the hand to come and hold this.
Yes.
You
get?
Yeah.
Like there's no, the communication is cut.
It's completely cut.
Completely cut.
Because some people, sorry to try to get to understand a little bit more, there are some people that say that the hand is weak. But also some people saying that the hand can communicate with the brain.
Think of a stroke, for example.
Yes.
You can't move, can you?
You can't.
Exactly like that. Or rather something like that. Something like that. That's how I understood it. But, I Googled it.
Yeah.
So let's read.
Okay.
It says it's a congenital disorder of movement, muscle tone, or posture. CP, that's what they call it, is due to abnormal brain development, often before birth. Symptoms include exaggerated reflexes, floppy or rigid limbs, and involuntary motions. These appear by early childhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So involuntary is you want to do this, but the brain is giving different instructions. So I'm sure you've seen kids who can't coordinate.
Yeah. So you feel like there is some sort of limbo. Like you don't know what they were trying to do or what they.
No, like you will tell, even like, for example, when walking, you walk straight up, one foot in front of the other. Right? These ones will fumble a bit.
All right.
Then the other one is the floppy. There's floppy or rigid. Rigid is can't move. Like now, you can't, it's rigid.
Yeah.
And so the occupational therapy helps to keep the muscle alive as the brain regenerates, because there's no medication you can take for it. Like it's almost like you have to be taught again. If you've seen someone who's had a stroke, it's almost like you have to be taught again to sit and stand and take one step in front of the other, something like that. So in my case, it was floppy. Floppy meaning when you're carrying her like this, the most affected hand, which was the right, will fall off.
Okay.
Like if you're carrying her, she looks like she's asleep because the hand is behind her. And she can't lift it. She can't. So her waist down, she can't even turn herself in bed.
Can I ask you a question? In your belief and understanding, where you are right now with the neurologist and the news that you're getting, looking back, is the negligence of the hospital.
Yeah. For sure. I was on time in terms of taking her to get the treatment she needed. It took long to diagnose, and then it took even longer to get the right medication. And so it being a brain injury, it becomes severe as the days go by. If who knows, another day or two would have lost her. So like I mentioned, CP, or cerebral palsy, has no cure. So you can manage and improve and get somewhat a certain level of independence. But there is mild CP, like there's a whole spectrum of it. There is mild and then there is severe. And at that point, the baby is still too young for us to actually know what we are dealing with. I think being a first-time mom helped because I was just naive. I was so naive.
Yeah.
I was just like, in a month, 2 months, this thing will be gone. And the thing that scared me was the waiting bay to the neurologist's office. And I was so terrified. So the neurologist recommended 3 days of occupational therapy. And I remember having a conversation with my husband, and I'm telling him, why can't we do 6? I mean, if this is the only way we can help our baby, why not do the most we can? So she only had like 1 rest day. So she'd cry through the therapy sessions, especially the earlier days. She'd just cry and cry through. And then over time, they became friends with the therapists. And right now they're just, according to her, she's exercising. Today, if you ask, Mose came to exercise. Mose is still with us, thank the Lord.
A long time.
And yeah, that's her. Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know how I'll ever repay him. Truly. So every time I would bathe the child, remember the neck thing? I'd lay her on her back and then lift her using the hands to see if the neck holds. Every single day, Jagero. Because that showed that was a sign of hope. Without it, there is no hope.
Well, you told her that you should be checking if it holds.
You just need to lift her and you'll see whether it holds or not. If it doesn't hold, the neurologist said she'd never be independent. She can never walk. Because remember, at this point, we have floppy hand, floppy lower limbs. floppy, like they're swinging like jelly like this. So every day, month 1, same thing. You can imagine every single day after bath time. Like that's the one thing you're waiting for the most. And every day the neck would go like. However, there were small signs. So remember only one toe was wiggling. Now we have the whole set of toes wiggling. Then we have the foot trying to, like she can try and lift slight. Let me tell you, at that point, it didn't feel like progress. But today when I review those videos, and because I took so many of them, I can actually see, but it's a journey that takes 5 months to achieve. So it feels like it's not happening for you who desperately wants it to happen. Month 1, month 2, month 3. Now it started becoming a thing I do. You know, like before you were desperately looking to see, and now you're almost giving up. You don't think it's ever going to happen. And then somewhere around when she was 9 months. So I used to pay attention as I do it. Then I continued doing it, but I'm not quite paying attention. So it feels like one day I just lifted her and she held her neck. Jagero. That was our first miracle. She held her neck.
You called people to see?
Gave us hope. Everyone in the house. I recorded. My husband was not at home, I don't think. So I recorded. I sent it to him. Look, she can hold her neck. So I lift her again, and I'm like, oh my God. So everybody is just celebrating with me in the house. Like, we were desperate. We were so desperate for it. The thing that this journey has taught me is early intervention. I'll keep repeating it, especially for the people who stumble on this video and they are going through something similar. Don't ignore it. And this applies to any neurodivergent, neurological disorder, whether that's CP, whether it's autism, whatever it is, early intervention. Because the more they grow up, their brain sort of develops. So you're left with very little to go with. But when they are young, like you can mold, you can fix some issues. So if you're looking at, let's say, a delayed mobility issue or a delayed speech issue, early intervention, which includes occupational therapy and speech therapy, is the best gift you can give to your child. Be prepared to hear the news because they're not easy to handle. But once you hear the news, just go do something about it. You might not get the results that you're looking for, but you will get something. You will be a step ahead than if you did nothing. So she held her neck, and now because she could hold her neck, we could do more with the occupational therapy, like using a standing aid to allow her to stand, like to be up in an upright position, which was initially, it was just like, oh yeah, because you're literally tying her to a standing aid. Usually a standing aid is like think of a bed that could stand.
Yeah.
So when she's lying down, you tie her knees because her knees are wobbly. You tie her ankles, her waist, her upper body. You're forcing her ideally to bear her weight on her legs.
Okay.
But she can't because her limbs are floppy.
What do you use to tie?
My husband had it sort of chomelewed somewhere. We couldn't find a place where we can buy one. So it's like a makeshift. We have one that is a makeshift with chuma. But there is a way he did it, and we've used it since, actually. It's still.
But there is something that is probably in the European world. There
probably,
is.
yeah. Yeah, a standing aid. So we've used it till till to date. So she'd finish her therapy session, which usually would take an hour and 15 minutes. Then she'd stand on the standing aid for about 45 to an hour. So you'll play with her, you'll zubaisha her. Like basically you don't want her to feel like that's a long time being tied on that. And sometimes God is just incredible because she's never refused to go on it, because there are kids who will give you a hard time to go on the standing, because literally unamfungilia. Ni kama wewe ufungiliwe pale usimame na usifanye anything. You can move your hands, but that's it. You stand in the same position for an hour. But then that helps in terms of gaining muscle tone. Because remember, we want these muscles to stay alive, but also gain muscle tone for the brain to start reconnecting with the muscles, the limb muscles.
Do you ever go back to the hospital so that the hospital can check?
I did. Dr. Oyatsi, that is. I did go see the neurologist again, and at that time I was so angry. I was thinking of suing the hospital because now I had started feeling the weight of it all. And I was so pissed. And I was pissed at God. I was pissed at the hospital. I was just angry. And I remember we went for a neurologist session once. And again, the waiting room. The doctor's waiting room. I sat next to this lady who asked me, "Why are you here?" Because I'm carrying the baby on the carrier with me.
So they
my
can
daughter. You really can't tell. If I come with her here, you wouldn't be able to tell because she looks okay. If you tell her to go pick that bag for you, that's when you realize that something is up. She looks okay. So when I'm carrying her, she's asking me, "Why are you here?" And, you can look around the room and there are situations that are severe. Situations that now break your heart even more. Like already I am feeling like this, and this is what I am dealing with. I wonder what that mother is going through, kind of thing. And I think those visits changed my perspective completely. You know what? Sometimes life hands you a difficult hand, but it could get a lot worse.
Yeah.
It could get a lot worse. There's no point of being angry. Just look at this as a blessing. She's holding her neck. And so over time, I've been trying to search the reason, or like, what this whole process, what lesson is, there has to be a purpose for all of it. What is it? So I started looking at it from that perspective as opposed to, why me? Oh my God. And then crying all the time. Not to mean I don't cry. I cry once in a while. But mostly I'm just like, you know what? We do what we can. And what we are, like, what we're in control of. Because it's already here and it's with us.
Yeah.
Yeah? And it could be worse. It could be way worse. You've seen it, and so instead of saying, why me, God, just say, thank you, Lord, for saving my child. So that's how sort of like I've been able to emotionally manage. I must say it has gotten more difficult as we progress.
Yeah.
It's deep, eh?
Very. It's more than I thought. What on a day-to-day life, what is the most difficult part of it? Because I can't imagine because the things that you say of your daughter, because I have a daughter who is 9 years old, turned 9 on the 16th on the 4th of January. She can run. I can send her. I can do all these things, and then I can imagine the situation of your daughter, like a day to day. What does it look like?
So the situation has gotten harder for me as she grows. For the dad, it was the opposite. He was more terrified when she was younger, because we actually didn't know the extent of the damage, the brain damage. You can only, like, you have to just wait and see, will she be able to speak? Will she be able to articulate herself? Will she have a learning disability? And all of that. So, and because me, I don't have kids, I didn't think that far. For me now is when I would say I'm sort of experiencing, like, it's harder as she grows. Because you start seeing women who've given birth after you, their kids running around. You start going to malls, and you see very cute girl shoes, and then you remember your daughter, she can't walk, so shoes will tire her legs. Well, now she's starting to put them on, but before they would tire her already floppy, so they'll mess her ankle. Imagine that underrated blessing of buying your daughter shoes.
Yeah. You see, that's what I'm saying.
The next phase that was difficult was finding a school, because now she's at the age in terms of, like, attending school. Finding a school that will take her on even with her challenges. There's a school I went to. She started school last year, January. And so this administrator told me, it would have been better if she had autism. But then now,
Very insensitive, right?
Very insensitive.
Because the teacher does not understand completely what is at stake.
Very insensitive. Others will tell you they already have, like, enough special needs children in the class. They can't take more. But generally, they just don't want any special needs children.
They don't want.
Yeah. I remember going to another school that has, like, a branch. One of the branch where I first went, that teacher was amazing. She was just, so I showed her pictures and videos, and she's like, no, there's nothing wrong. Please bring her. However, for admission, you need to go to our main office. And then I go to the main office, and I'm thinking, oh, finally, I found a place. Then they reject her.
They say what?
They just don't take special needs children. They won't say it in those words, but
they find a way.
They'll find a way to tell you the class is full or whatever. And literally, there are people waiting to get admissions.
How is it supposed to? Gosh, there are so many things to.
There are layers.
There are so many layers. Because you think you are talking about affording Moses, you're talking about affording how to get this thing that they're supposed to stand on, how to feed them, who to leave them with when you are away, and then you suddenly realize the water is deeper when education now. It's time for education.
Now she's older. She's turning 5 this year, and so she's asking questions. So she's asking, "Mommy, can 4-year-olds run?" Because I'm sure she can see other kids in her school that can run, but she can't.
And that perhaps brings me to the most difficult question. You see, the way, for lack of a better explanation or illustration, to the way single mothers are forced to explain to their children why they don't have a father. Is it the same thing that now you have to explain?
Yeah.
What is going on?
So it's a delicate balance. She's such a happy soul. We love her so much. She's amazing. Everybody in the house loves her. And she knows it. So So now, school, first of all, even the decision to take her to school, you're now exposing her to other elements. This has been a safe space.
Okay.
And now you're exposing her to other people. What will they say? How will she take it? How will her personality evolve? Will it evolve for the better or the what? So first you're like, do I do homeschooling or do I take her out, out to learn with other kids? And one of the things I had learned like earlier on was when you have a child with this delayed, let me call them delayed milestones, when you allow them to interact with other kids, it improves their confidence and they start emulating, they start trying to do what the other kids are doing. So at some point when she was 2, we had started like play school where she just goes and plays from 9 to 12. And she improved. Like you can see now she's trying. She's trying. She wants, because she's seen what's possible out there. But also the opposite is also true. She could get positive things and also negative things as well.
Yeah.
Like for example, there's a boy in school who he didn't mean anything bad or anything like that, but he just was like, "Why are you crawling like a dog?" It's a small boy. It's not like he sat and calculated it. But imagine as a mother hearing that.
Yeah.
You understand? He's just joined the school. He's new. So usually the school sort of manages, this is Noni, that's her name. She will need your help in A, B, C, and D, blah, 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 blah. So the school, her schoolmates are like usually always so helpful, ready to assist and da, 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 da. Then a kid joins, they've not been oriented like into now vizuri. It's like first, second day or something like that. And they just ask that. And then now you have to go and manage it. The school has to manage it as well. And you have to observe to make sure that didn't.
When they say special needs school, what do they mean, the government?
So school of special needs is mainly for kids with special, with learning disability.
Okay.
Learning.
Not physical.
Because she doesn't have a learning disability. Thank the Lord. Oh God, thank the Lord. She's very smart. She can sit in class and do exactly what the teacher says, and stuff like that. But her issue is mobility.
Mobility. So she's in school on a sort of a wheelchair, or how do they? How? I have to ask.
I know. So we've hit a couple of milestones with the therapy. It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years now, right? And so we started with holding the neck, then sitting properly, then lifting one leg, lifting the other, achieving crawl position, crawling to now where we are. And where we are, according to like the information I have so far, getting a wheelchair will get her comfortable.
Okay.
Will get her to be comfortable.
Too comfortable.
As opposed to try and make this work.
Okay.
So it's as a parent, it's a very bad space to be in, because I want the best for her, but also the best for her could mean it'll be a bit uncomfortable now. So right now she crawls around school. So we get her gloves, some knee pads to protect her from the whatever. Then the teachers will help here and there. It's a fantastic school. They've been amazing so far.
Maybe it is time to give a shout out to that school, because then they agreed.
I don't know if I'm allowed.
You don't know if you're allowed.
I don't know if I'm allowed, but yeah, if they get to watch this video, you guys are the real deal. If they allow me, I can ask you to put it here. Yeah, I might want to seek permission for that. Yeah. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. I say, I'm dealing with her. I'll deal with me later because I think
How is you?
I don't know. I don't know how I am.
Really?
I don't know how I am. Because the thing is, you have to deal with it first. And I suspect I will need therapy at some point. I have actually gone for therapy. I think last year I did a couple of sessions. They helped. It helps that I have a very supportive partner. Remember being friends?
Yeah.
And let me even tell you why.
Okay.
Why you should marry your friend.
Okay.
At the beginning of this journey, he could not be in the same room with his daughter, our daughter, and the therapist because it was painful for her. She was crying and yelling. He just couldn't. Not that he didn't want to, it was just killing him on the inside. Right? Because he could see like how bad this situation is. I'd say I was stronger because I was just naive. I didn't know what we were dealing with. So me niko tu like, let's try. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? And we never fought about it. We didn't need to fight about it because I can see this guy can't handle being
Yeah.
So as opposed to going like, oh, we're going through this and you can't even.
Yeah.
Are you seeing? You're just like,
You are
let him be. Yeah, just let him be. And then now I'm the one going through it because now as she grows older, it becomes heavier on me. And he's the one who is holding it down for all of us.
Yeah.
But, yeah, marry your best friend.
Marry your best friend.
Mm.
There are a couple of lessons to be learned. First of all, by the people that are in this situation, people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I know that people are having these problems every day. Probably there is a parent that is watching this and is completely new. It's so raw to them. It's happened this week. And they're wondering, where do I start? Where do they find the strength?
Sometimes don't wait for strength to find you. Just put one foot in front of the other. Like what do you need to do? You need to go for a diagnosis, right? There is a Kasarani Institute of Special Education. It's in Kasarani. It's a government institution. If you think your child has any of those neurological disorders, or they're seemingly to you like maybe they've not spoken yet, they have like delayed speech or delayed mobility, or just behavior that is not very, I would say, forgive the word, normal, just go and get a diagnosis. That's a step, right? And I know it's a scary step because you don't want them to confirm your worst fears. So it's not easy. I recognize that. But if you do nothing, then it gets worse. And I pray that your partner is supportive, because I've met other mothers who their husbands are like, no, they're fine. And usually mothers spend more time with young kids, right, than the dads. So if a mother tells you that this child, I think there's something wrong, as a husband, don't even give your opinion. Just ask her, where do you need us to go? And, get help or something. Because this thing of, because denial is also there. So you'll find there are people who are in denial. Sometimes the mother really wants to figure out what's wrong. The husband does not want to confirm it. And so you're just in limbo. Just get the diagnosis first. Then, just like me, I got the diagnosis and I was told there is no cure. The only thing that can help is occupational therapy. Then you do that. You do it as you cry. You do it in whatever state, but you do it. You get my point? Like, don't wait to be strong. I'm not strong. In fact, I didn't know I could survive this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it.
When in 2020, I suffered a huge medical problem.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, my worst fear was that both my legs were going to be amputated.
What?
Yeah. I did not drive for the entire 2020 because I had a problem with my heels. It became so bad that I wasn't able to. I could hardly
That's
walk.
scary.
Yeah, I could hardly walk to the
The way you're matching everywhere, like your stride is like two of mine.
I wasn't able to walk to the gate. That was my worst fear. And I parked my car for a whole year.
Mm.
One of the things and I've had that problem with my feet for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wear shoes, shoes for these office shoes.
Mm-hmm.
When you are talking about going to a shop and seeing the good shoes and wanting to buy them for your daughter, I had exactly the same. I always look at people in suits and wearing official shoes, and I really, really admire. And
I didn't know that.
yes, and envious of people who can have, official shoes for a whole day.
Yeah.
I am not able to do that to date. So, most of the time when people see me, there is nothing wrong with me. Remember when people...
Yeah, you look...
when you were saying that the lady was asking you what brings you here, they couldn't see it. Every time, people are always telling me, Jagiro, you are so lazy, you don't want to walk. It's the junction.
And that's not
Let's
okay.
walk to the junction. And yes, I can walk to the junction. I'm going to have a very bad week after walking to the junction because I've been having thorns, I'm walking on thorns. So a lot of people do not see your problem. They really cheapen it. And it's like the boy that asking your daughter, why are you crawling like a dog? I have that feeling that people think that I am very lazy. I don't want to walk. My brother died because he was going home after driving me to Nairobi because I can't drive to Kisumu. So my brother was driving me back to Nairobi. When he was going back home, he got an accident and died.
Oh, no, Jagiro.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so...
I am so sorry.
When people say, you don't know what is happening, the extent of it. Mm. And so a lot of people I find cheapening what you're going through.
Oh, it's not easy.
Even
what you just mentioned, that's tough. Mm. It's not easy at all, I can tell you that. And you always almost expect that people will come through for you.
Mm. Today, in the morning, I was with my cousin who is in the other room. Mm-hmm. I got official shoes from very expensive ones. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me, you've taken out your $1 million shoes. Uh-huh. I have never put them on. Today I tried putting them on in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was seated, strutting around the house before we left for the office. Mm-hmm. Do you know, Nilizivua, I took them out because I could feel when I put them on.
When the shoe is comfortable and when it's going to give you trouble.
When you are talking about it's going to do what to your... She can wear them, but it's going to do what? It's going to...
It's a weight on her feet.
That's exactly what happens to official shoes.
Yeah.
To me. Mm. They hurt my ankles. I can't stand on them. Mm. It's just a very bad idea. So, I did store.
They look nice.
I went back to my sneakers. What do you say to people that are looking at this from the other side of the fence?
Which side?
The people that are not in your shoe. The people that are seeing this kid in school, the teachers, the neighbors?
That's a thing. Before this happened to me,
Yeah.
I had very little, if at all, knowledge on neurological disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see the guys on wheelchairs, asking for cash by the roadside, and you're wondering, why are their muscles so, like, why are their hands and feet so thin?
Yeah.
Right? That it crosses your mind, but you drive off and you see the next thing that you're going to see.
Yeah.
So I don't even fault them, but it is why I'm having this conversation in the first place. And the thing is, this can literally happen to anyone at any time, right? It could be me today, tomorrow it's you or your sister. And so if I'm only hoping if I talk about it, then more people get the courage to talk about it, and we get more awareness on some of these issues, so that even in school you don't find these children being treated, differently or in some type of way.
Yeah.
Even in schools, I feel like if more people know about it, if more people understand the weight, sort of like we can start coming together and sort of managing these as a society. Like, for example, that school already is a society for us, and she's the only one who has a mobility challenge. So if she's not treated well there, you can imagine what happens to what do we do now, right? And I guess it's also important to teach our kids that these things exist and they're there, and there's nothing wrong. Like they're not better or worse off people or kids, for example. It's just creating that awareness and allowing for that conversation, because there are many mothers who've locked up their kids because of stigma and stuff like that. But if we allow these conversations to happen, I feel like even those mothers, for example, would find it easier to come out and seek help, because there are those who are not doing it because wanaambiwa ni uchawi, sijui ulienda ukafanya. There are all these other stories around it. Yet you just need to go to the hospital and be shown how to get help for the situation you have. And it might not be cured, but it can be managed. Like, the situation can be greatly improved. You understand? And so I'm hoping that's what this conversation, does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really wonderful talking to you.
Yeah.
We had a back and forth.
I was always going to come. It was a matter of when.
Really?
Yes, it was just a matter of when. It's an itch I've had for a while. And last year on her birthday, I did share about it. So those who want to see videos and picture stories of the same, you can find them. It's a how do you call it? Saved stories on my Instagram page, which is Unprepared to Entrepreneur. So it's a conversation I've had an itch to share. And I feel like I do that a lot, where I go through something hard and I want to share it for other people who are also going through it, which is kind of the same with the business entrepreneurship YouTube channel as well. But I hope this encourages someone to seek early intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah, the earliest possible.
What I have realized is that parenthood is very nuanced, and is full of things, and I have only one child.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that a lot of people have told me that I have to get a boy.
Why?
Our culture, Luo culture is very patriarchal. And they are looking at my home that I have sweated so much to build. And they're saying there is no Simba. Simba?
Uh-huh. Paint your daughter as Simba. Is that allowed? What? Why is that funny? It's not allowed.
You know.
I am sorry, guys. I don't know what I just said. What did I get myself into? Tell me why you laughed so hard. I have a feeling I'm in trouble. Uh-huh.
You really cannot.
You can't build your daughter a Simba.
No.
Why?
In my culture, you cannot.
Okay, what is a Simba?
But a Simba is a very powerful house or structure that is built for the man. It's usually before they get married. So it is where they go from their mother's house to go and start their manhood.
Okay. So can you build a Simba for your daughter's husband? Assuming they're not Luo?
Assuming they're not Luo? No, you can't. So it's very symbolic. It's very symbolic and it's very simple. Simba is a man's cave. It's a man cave. So you can't.
That's interesting because I saw Kit Carey. A certain lady on Instagram. There are three at their home. Like she has two other sisters. So the dad has built like cabins for them.
You said Kiarie?
Kit Carey.
Kit Kiarie. Kiarie is Kikuyu, right? Or Meru?
No, Kiarie, now that's who she got married to, but she's Luo.
She's Luo? So who built for who?
Their dad built for her. Her dad built for her. They don't have a boy in the home.
Oh, so the dad, where in here in Nairobi?
No, up in your village, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's not a Simba.
Oh, what is it?
Those are just sleeping.
Oh, Kit, come and explain.
We can never be called Simba.
It's just a cabin.
It's just a sleeping quarter. It's basically just a sleeping quarter.
Okay. So what happens to a home that doesn't have a Simba?
That's completely against the Luo culture. Yeah. Oh, you might not know, by the way, but they're just guest houses that happens to be housing the girls. Yeah. They're not really built for them. If you if you investigate, you realize that they have no name on those guest houses. No.
I don't know much about it. I really don't. But why can't women get a Simba? Maybe I should
Because
ask.
in our culture, women fly away. For lack of a better word.
Okay.
They fly away. In our culture, they are given the name of a mongoose. You know the animal that comes to steal chickens at night?
Women are given the name
mongoose. Yes, the one that yes. In Luo culture, women are wild. Women are wild.
Please don't spoil an already really good conversation.
It's not you see, Anne.
I'm like, oh my God.
These things have got. They are very figurative. And if they're said in color or in black and white,
in black and
you tend to the. In fact, if you start explaining them in another language, they lose meaning.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, like for example, inheriting women.
Yes.
If you use the word inheritance for people who are English people, it gets twisted.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you use the original word tero, then it's supposed to be. You know.
Okay. Let's leave that conversation.
It's a very nice conversation. It's a very nice conversation. So women fly away. They do not belong. You know, they do not belong. They are supposed to be married off. And they belong to other people.
Wherever they're going.
Yeah. So that is why you don't keep their belongings here. And they even,
what happens in the
in
the case of divorce?
Luo culture don't like their women coming back, even in divorce.
What if it happens?
It does happen. And those are the conversations, you see, that need to happen because they are right now happening.
Yeah.
The Luo culture oh my God, this is a very nice conversation that we should be having another day, correct?
I think so. I would love to understand that more. That sounds...
Yeah, we could have it another conversation because women are very important people in the society. But also, I don't think there are enough conversations about women.
Yeah.
Yes, about women who give birth in their father's homestead, about women who separate from their husband.
Yes.
Like, for example,
I think women are just going through like an identity crisis.
Yes.
Especially when you look at it from like, our cultural society. It's just, there are people who are just loosely hanging. They don't know where they belong. They don't know if they belong on this side or on this side.
Yeah, there are several.
So there's like an identity. I don't know.
See the way we write a constitution? We need to write a cultural constitution for women.
Maybe.
Yeah, the 2010 constitution,
yeah,
the women's constitution is long overdue. We need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only just the other day that they started owning land.
Because like you see something that happened in my village that's very interesting that has never happened. So the mother has got kids. One of her boys is married. They divorce with the wife, and the wife goes away. He dies. Okay? But when he is dying, he's already having a homestead. And he is survived by the daughter, who does not follow the mother, wherever the mother is. She remains here with the grandmother. And her father dies. She's in school, boarding. She comes back home and finds out that the grandmother has sold the father's homestead. There was nothing there. The house had gone down. She was living with the grandmother. The grandmother assumes that this is my land. Because it is just the daughter that is there, and the daughter is living with her. This daughter goes to the chief. Yes. And accuses the grandmother that...
Yeah, you've sold my my property.
Yes.
My future property.
The chief is a young man that has had these conversations, that you don't mess with the girls. So he summons the person who bought the land and tells him, do you know the land? Whose land did you buy?
Oh wait, when the grandmother is selling the land, it's because this child is not a boy.
Yes.
If they were a boy, she wouldn't do it.
No, she would not touch it. She would not touch it. Even if the boy were 2 years old, she would not touch it. But because girls do what? Fly away. The girl comes, goes to the chief and tells the chief that, look, they sold my land. I want it back.
So the cultural whatevers and and what the law of succession are sort of like clashing.
Yes,
in this case.
A lot.
And obviously succession wins.
Yes. So the guy was summoned. The guy who bought the land and said, you bought somebody else's land. Do you know? So I didn't know. Yeah, you bought somebody's land. Go back to the grandmother, get back your money.
Get back your money,
yes,
return.
The land is not yours. Case closed. The grandmother had to go and find another land to give the guy.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this interview is over.
I think so. I have Yeah.
I wish you well with your interview, with your podcast.
Thank you.
I wish you well with your...
You can find it here.
Yes.
Insert it.
Please remind me to insert it. You'll never. Until another episode, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.